Hello and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We're back once again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans. We've got some updates. Lots of updates. I think we've actually got some Rebellion updates as well as Unbreakable updates again. I guess, again, it's one of those things, well, both of the shows are upcoming, and the Unbreakable show is next week, I believe. So, like it's a tough journey, I guess. Again, it's always tough to get some of these things getting together so that you can promote these shows. But then again, like, they've done well in terms of ticket sales. Like, they sold out most of the arenas, both of these arenas, before the matches were even really announced. So, I think that there is that level of hype now around TNA where people, like, not a complete sellout, but still, like, a fair amount of tickets sold out. People are still getting, like, tickets up to the date and whatnot, and at the door at times as well. So, you can't say that it's not working in some regards. But anyway, we know the result of the first triple threat, and that went the way that I thought it would, with AJ Francis winning that. So I just wanted to cover that very quickly. So that's a tick for me, but we'll wait and see for the other matches. But we'll also wait and see because whoever doesn't get pinned in, I think it's Austin, Ace Austin, Macklin, and Edwards gets to face the winner in a rematch. So I'm assuming that Eric Young is winning that match, and or maybe Macklin. I don't know. I'm confused. It's one of these two matches between Wentz and JDC, or Young and Austin, Edwards, Macklin, that gets a second shot essentially at the title at Rebellion. So we'll find out more about that as we're getting closer to it. A lot of stuff announced for Unbreakable. I literally don't know where to start with this, but I guess the Hardys and Santana versus Mustafa Ali and the Nemeth. I'll start here. It's crazy to think that before, I think it was a few weeks ago, that the Hardys said that they were not cleared for competition. And then they wrestled a match against the Good Hands. And now they're wrestling a match against Nemeth and Nick and Ryan Nemeth. So, and Mr. Ali, of course, whatever. But still, it's like they've had two matches now, or going to have had two matches now before they're technically cleared to wrestle. This is 1 week before it, but whatever. So, why say that? At least let's just say, I don't know. I don't know. You've got to put a roadblock or a cap on it to say that they can't face each other. I guess, or whatever, because you want the feud to go on and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. And especially since next week there is a TNA Impact just before this show as well. So that's sort of the countdown show, or that's counting as the countdown show, I'm guessing, which is weird because the countdown show's now going to be an hour or almost 2 hours worth of a show, which is weird, but the whole Impact apparently is the countdown show. So I guess, okay, sure, especially since it's on a Thursday. That's what I think people meant. And I think this show, usually they're 3 hours, and that's what somebody meant by 5 hours of TNA. Let's freaking go, or whatever. That'll do, pig. That'll do. But yeah, I don't know. It's just that it's kind of super weird having said, hey, we're not going to wrestle. We're not cleared to wrestle till this time. And then you have one match before that or whatever. And then you're having this match before that. It's you shouldn't have just said that you're not medically cleared or whatever, But yeah, whatever. I don't know. I don't know because, again, next week or whatever, within another week, they haven't done anything with the Nemeth thus far really to put them over as far as a tag team or anything like that. So really, I feel like this is your opportunity. If you're not gonna you're not gonna have much time to do much more with them between now and Rebellion. So at that point, it's like, yeah, there's no point in like feigning you're gonna put time and effort into this team. Like, you can put time and effort into the team after if they're going to win the belts, okay, and that legitimizes them or whatever. That's fine. I'm okay with that. And some people wouldn't be, but again, I think you could make it work. But still, whatever. But yeah, if they're going to win, they have to win here. If they're not going to win, they still have to win here. In my opinion, they have to win here. But the flip side of that is the whole Mustafa Ali Santana situation. And it's a really weird and kind of awkward situation because it's like they are, we'll talk about it more in a minute, but they are facing each other at Rebellion. So it's like, well, that's another, all these people have implications. And again, I don't know, Mustafa Ali hasn't lost a match in 6 months, in a long time. Actually, well, I guess it doesn't really matter because he's only had a handful of matches since returning. Nick Nemeth is, I'm just saying, let's say this. Nick Nemeth is pretty protected. He hasn't lost a whole lot in TNA. Mustafa Ali is pretty protected. Hasn't lost a lot in TNA. Ryan's the only one on that team that I could see is, sort of a semi-jobber, basically. And the Hardys and Mike Santana are pretty protected as well. So it's a difficult one to predict, but for, you're already got a lot of heat for Ali. I don't know. And I just don't think that, again, there's any point. There's no, I absolutely don't think there's any point in them actually having this match in Rebellion. I think that they should forget about it and have saved it for later. But that is my thought on that. So on this, I feel like, yes, Mr. Ali, and the Nemeths need to win this one because, and even maybe we'll talk about it in a minute with Santana and Ali at Rebellion. I don't know, because again, you start saying, well, who's going to challenge Joe, or who, what's going to go on, at a certain point, or are you going to put the title on somebody else because Joe's injured and whatnot, and we'll have to talk more about that in a minute. But it's and I don't know whether it's a kayfabe injury or not, but whatever. I'm not going to get too deep into the woods on that one. But yeah, it's a really interesting one. But again, I feel like the Nemeth and Mr. Ali need to win because otherwise you haven't got a narrative for the Nemeth brothers. You can continue the narrative with Ali and Santana. And Santana still trying to chase Ali in some way, and Ali running effectively and whatnot and all of that. So yeah, I feel like that's the way that you're going and whatnot. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna skip that one for now. We're gonna go ahead and look at Mace Warner versus Sally McCallahan in Barbed Wire Massacre. I was thinking it was gonna be Monsters Ball, y'all. But yeah, sure, Barbed Wire Massacre, absolutely. Oh my god, moments are coming, boys. But yeah, that's the sort of thing that, these guys kind of need, in some ways. You can't have, just some regular ass match, but with this feud going, there's no way you can have this, regular ass match, especially since they had a street fight, and now they've, had a really hardcore sort of triple threat. So it's you need to do something. I was, like I said, I was thinking Monsters Ball, but whatever. Barbed Wire Massacre. I think maybe like Monsters Ball, like you might say, oh, it's overplayed. So again, like bringing something back that's kind of like they haven't done this in a long time and whatnot. So it's like, well, let's do that then type thing. There was lots of hints towards like maybe a body bag match and then maybe like an eye for an eye match of some sort here and there. But like, I don't know. But again, I kind of feel like it's like, well, what are you going to do after this for both of these guys? Like, it doesn't, like, I'm not going to say right now to say who wins or whatever, because I think we've already kind of almost crossed that bridge in some ways. But, yeah, you need to give both these guys something else to do. You can't just keep them feuding together forever. And this is a good place to end it and have them go on, new and different directions. I don't know how you're going to do that like 1 week before Rebellion or whatever else it is. But again, you could still do something with these guys. So you could still figure something out for them to do. Like, I don't know whether you want to. I said before, like, I thought that they might put the title on EY just as an inaugural champion because that makes some amount of sort of sense in that regard with the feud with Steve Macklin and whatnot. That kind of, I think, would kind of be interesting and whatnot. But, like, here I'm thinking, like, you could have Mace Warner feuding with whoever holds the belt, but then it's like, well, that doesn't make sense if it's going to be EY. Like, but then again, maybe he should do other things other than feuding for that belt. And honestly, I don't think, again, that the belt is 100% necessary. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like their mid to upper card sort of is pretty good, but it's just way too thin to sort of, really have like two separate titles for people to be kind of going up against. Like we talked about before, and I was going to make a video about it before, but it never really sort of came together. What was about like a women's mid-card title of some sort. But you would really have to get rid of the women's tag team titles to kind of make that work. Because otherwise you're just like diverting too many people to the tag team thing as it is, in some ways, while at the same time not, kind of doing that. So yeah, like, you like to get that division going, you would have to really, like a mid-card women's title, you would really have to commit to it and build it up for a long period of time. And like that just probably isn't really a thing. Like, I think, like, again, like, just make stories. Don't worry about like having that extra title. I just don't think it works because, like, it's a weird sort of circumstance in TNA because they do have the X Division title, which is not a mid-card title, and it's really its own unique thing. It's its own unique division in a sense. It's almost like the women's division in a sense. You've got to think of it as a completely different division. So it's the top prize of a division in a sense. It's like the tag team titles, okay? It's a unique format of kind of wrestling and philosophy and that kind of stuff. It's not just a lower card title. It's not just a mid card title. It can be basically anything that you want it to be. Like, it depends what you kind of put behind it, like, in some ways. So, but yeah, I don't know with this between Warner and Callahan, because I'm not sure like what they're gonna do next. But again, I feel like they've got to do something with both of these guys, and since like Warner's the heel here, I feel like he has to go out of his way to attack somebody else, and somebody else has to come in to attack Callahan, like, or whatever, so that, he can move on to somebody else and do something else, and, and same for Warner. He has to attack somebody for some reason, to get something or to try to get something that he wants, so that he can do something. So, I do feel like Warner's winning this because, like, he's new and, they're trying to get him over. So that's where we're at. And that's where we've been at for a while with this. They're trying to get this guy over. So they're bringing him in and giving him some, some good shine. Anyway, last thing, which is a big match. Joe Hendry and Marsha Slamovich versus Frankie Kazarian and Tessa Blanchard. I'm kind of almost already figuring out that, Marsha has basically no luck in tag team matches against Tessa. That's the story that we've been kind of telling thus far. You could kind of reverse that here. I don't know. Sounds kind of good. But, like, you could, like, for the babyface and for fans of the babyface, you don't want your babyface to look weak, too weak, but you don't want your babyface to look like they are too dominant either in some ways, because if you can't believe or try to be like, oh man, they've got to overcome all these odds and I feel sorry for them, I hope they can do it, I believe they can do it, please Marsha, beat up Tessa for us, shut her up and all of this. Same with Joe Hendry. It's sort of like, especially since that injury, and we'll get into it in a little bit more as well, but it is an interesting set of circumstances. This is very, very weird territory, and this is like on the back of WrestleMania weekend. So it is an interesting issue, and I think like is it the next week after Rebellion is from WrestleMania? I'm not too sure. But yeah, I think either way, it is sort of like you're kind of sandwiching, WrestleMania. So, you've got all of this stuff going on, i.e. Unbreakable before it, and then Rebellion afterwards. So Rebellion's on the 27th. Actually, I did see it on Twitter, actually, I think, that someone had posted it up, and they had a poster of like the upcoming shows, like that included WrestleMania, Rebellion, a couple of the other shows as well. So I might try to find that, because that will help me much more than just like trying to look it up myself. And I can't find it. It's annoying. But yeah, like, you're sandwiching WrestleMania. And not that the build's bad, but it's just not good in many ways, because again, you haven't really had enough time, and you've only sort of started putting this thing together, and you've got two sort of pay-per-views that are basically right next to each other, so you've got this divided attention between trying to promote both of them and trying to give each show something that, brings people to the forefront and says, okay, yep, sure, this is something that I'm, am interested in seeing, because like WrestleMania is that big show. You just cannot get away from it being that big show. And like if you're in and around or have wrestling around that time, you benefit from having your shows close to WrestleMania, because, well, hey, people might come and see what the hubbub's all about type thing down the road or whatever it is, or across the city or whatever it is, So when you've got these things to promote or to showcase to people, it's like, well, you've got to see more than just the same generic build that only happens like a month before or whatever it is. And this is meant to be a big show in and of itself, right? Rebellion, like, it's a big show. So it's like, well, like, where are we at? Like, what's going on? Like, these shows are meant to be big on their own, let alone the fact that they're happening, basically right around WrestleMania. But I cannot find it. So, let's see. Okay, here we go. That was annoying. That was so annoying. So, God. WrestleMania's on the 19th and on the 20th. So, Rebellion is the week after. Wow, okay. So, Unbreakable is like 2 nights before WrestleMania. So, yeah, that's crazy. Well, we just had AEW Dynasty. Where are we here? The 11th. So I believe that's today or tomorrow. Windy City Riot. I think that's New Japan. Spring Break, AEW Dynamite. The Hall of Fame after Unbreakable, directly after. Then NXT Stand and Deliver. Then WrestleMania. And then, 2 nights of WrestleMania. And then Rebellion the week after. So, again, like, I don't know, like, it's a really fast turnaround. And that's the thing about, like, these fast turnarounds. But sometimes you've got to have, like, a fast turnaround, like, in some ways. But you should have things, like you've had the feud, like, with Tessa and with Marsha kind of brewing, and people have seen that. You've got the feud between Ali and Santana that's been brewing for a while. But again, like, I don't know, because they're not doing anything specifically wrong, or you can't find that they're doing anything specifically wrong, because they've got, again, like, they've really got, like, everything coming together. Like, they've got, like, the ticket sales. So it's like, who am I to argue? Like, the proof is in the pudding, as they sort of say, like, you can't, forget that, what they're actually doing and where they're, you can't debate that. They've done it. So it's like, well, what are you going to do? One thing I want to talk about before we move on is that Chris Bay will be doing a Q&A with the Hardys for Unbreakable. So that's kind of cool to see Chris Bay, not back in action, but sort of back in action as well, there at Unbreakable. So nice to sort of see that. So let's now move on to Unbreakable. We've already talked a bit about some of the stuff that is going down, because there's a lot going down, and everything that, almost everything that's on this upcoming show is also relating to, well, the next upcoming show. So, and that's the thing, it is good in many ways. So we haven't really found out anything else except for the match between Mike Santana and Mustafa Ali. Like I said, with this one, I didn't say who I was going to think winning with Slamovich, or did I? I think I was saying, might continue. Either we're going to continue the trend of Masha losing in tag matches against Tessa, or we're going to finally reverse that. So I was like, well, they can't make the babyface look too good in some ways, because there's got to be that air of jeopardy in some ways. And Joe Hendry's injured, so Marsha's kind of got to go at it kind of ish herself ish, or Joe's got to operate with one arm, or sort of with one arm. So yeah, we've got to wait and see for that. So it's like, yeah, I do feel like Tessa and Kazarian are gonna win that one. But anyway, yeah, Santana and Ali. Yeah, these guys, like I said, I definitely don't think that they should be fighting at this point. And if they're going to fight, they need a stipulation of some sort at this point. So, and I don't know what that should be. And, well, maybe we'll get it soon-ish at some point. We'll find out, that there's going to be a stipulation. But, I still feel like at the moment, currently speaking, it's hard to say it, because it is why would you, because I said before, you've kind of got Ali in this position, in this tag match before it, and I kind of felt like, as I said, the Hardys can take a loss here, and the Nemeths need to win. Doesn't matter if they're winning down the road or whatever. If you don't have them having some sort of jeopardy for the Hardys, besides the fact that they injured, or sort of injured them, or whatever it was, again, that sort of, takes away from them, and too much, and then it's like, well, why are we buying this pay-per-view if we feel like, the Hardys are just going to win? We want to think, people want to think that there is some jeopardy in these things. So, but you've got to show them that as well. You can't just be like, oh, okay, the baby faces are going to win, lol, all the time. It's like, well, that's no good. Even if we know that they're going to win, or feel like they're going to win at a certain point, it's like, well, still, you have to feel like there is that jeopardy, or there is that unknown, or there is that reason to think, oh man, maybe they are going to lose, or whatever it is, So you've got to present their opponents like they could beat these guys, in some way. So yeah, I feel like they have to win that next match at Unbreakable. So then you're looking at Mustafa kind of being 2-1 against Santana and whatnot, and that sort of thing. So it's like bringing them up to 2-2 doesn't really make much sense. You know what I mean? I keep saying it, but it's they shouldn't have really pulled the trigger on this match. This match should have been, another 6 months away, or another 8 months away, or another year away. So it's sort of bad timing in many ways. So, I keep saying, before, you've got to have more people ready to challenge Joe, even if they're gonna lose. Even if, Mustafa Ali is the next person to face Joe. I don't know whether he is or whether he isn't, but that's, beside the point. You need him to feel like if he's going to do that, that he's gone and earned that in some ways, that he, has risen above, the rest of the crop or whatever else it is in some form or fashion, so that you make him feel like, okay, he's beaten Santana, 3-1 or whatever it is in a sense. Maybe by hook or by crook, but still he's beaten him. Like, I think, again, probably shouldn't happen this way or whatever else it is. But again, that's not for me to, decide or whatever. But again, you've got that, like, coming along the sort of path of saying, okay, let's find a way to build up both of these guys at the same time. You're not just saying, let's make Santana lose here, which is now what I'm kind of feeling like. You're having to say, well, what else are we going to do with him? Because, like, he is very popular. But it's like, I don't know. You've kind of kept, and in some ways it has been good, like, but he's been kind of kept in limbo a fair bit. And it's kind of like, at a certain point, it's like, come on, either pull the trigger on the guy in some way or some form, or, like, or turn him heel, or you've got to start thinking of turning him heel, rather. So, yeah. And, like, they showed that in the, like, vignettes or whatever, backstage footage this week, where it was, like, pretty uncomfortable and whatnot there with Santana at times. It's like, I don't think this is, obviously it's not heel turn yet, but it's like, you're planting some seeds there, and it kind of feels like, hey, maybe we'll turn this guy heel or whatever, like, obviously not until the feud with Santana's with Ali is kind of at a different point or whatever else it is, or whatnot. Or again, you could do something else with him, I guess. Like, you could turn him, well, not turn him, but you could keep him as a babyface and just sort of, like, I don't know. I don't think keeping him as a babyface would be, like, horrible, but I don't think it's, like, could be the best option. I think turning him heel makes a lot more sense in some ways, or turning up the rage in some ways. It's like, or again, maybe just, like, say, okay, well, instead of, like, that, again, like, actually, this is what you could do with Warner, actually, and then you could have got something for Santana, so you got something for both of them, kind of thing. Now you got to find something for Callahan, but wait a minute, Mr. Ali just got freed up, so you've kind of got that next opponent right there, like, kind of thing. So it's like, that could kind of work if you could kind of fit those pieces together that way. Those could be the best things that you could do, like, right now. So, yeah, I don't know. I do think that there is always potential in these things and whatnot. So it's like thinking of saying, okay, well, maybe again, like, you start saying, well, we want Ali to, or whoever, whatever. Like, I think Ali is one of their projects, in my opinion. And I think, like, that's part of perhaps his contract, again, like, much like they did, or much like the agreement in some ways is with Nick Nemeth. It's like, well, we'll do some big stuff with you. Like, before they did some big stuff with Mr. Ali, like, and it's like, yeah. But again, even if it's not in their contract or whatever, something that they agreed upon, saying, hey, we'll bring you in and we'll, like, give you a big title run or we'll do something big with you, like, that's implied when you bring in a, big money contracted wrestler. Like the Hardys, same thing. Like, you've got to say, hey, we're gonna give you stuff to do. We're gonna treat you like the mega stars that you are, and like we're gonna give you stuff to do, but you've got to meet kind of the expectations of the fans. Not our expectations, but their expectations. You've got to bring it. You like, even if you can't go as well as what you once did, we don't care. Like, if you make those people out there happy, or you can give them something to tune into next week, or whatever else it is, or whatever, or etc., or buy the merch, or buy the show, or buy the pay-per-view, whatever else it is, or buy a ticket to the arena, that's what you're here for. Or like, we're not going to just bring you in just because. You can say, oh yes, we're here and we're an attraction, but you've got to fucking bring it. We're not going to just like let rest on your laurels and not be, the best, or try to be the best, or showcase that. But yeah, maybe I'm looking a little bit too much into this week's sort of backstage or whatever segment that they did with Santana, and that it was like, that seems like it went to a very dark place. So it's like, well, maybe they're trying to do this. I don't know. But again, like, you could always think like that. You could always think like, well, where's this going? This has got to be going somewhere else. So that's a good idea, actually, of like, maybe it's not the best idea, but again, it's there. But then, like I say, going back to Mr. Ali, what you could do with him next is, like, if you're not going to push him into being the world champion, you might push him into being like one of the new inaugural, or one of the sort of champions of the international title division. He is an international wrestler, like, and whatnot. So it's like, that could make some sort of sense. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think, like I said, that's a worthwhile endeavor, and I don't know why. Maybe it's something from the TV networks that they said, "Hey, we need you guys to have this other title or something, or whatever else it is, or whatnot." I don't know. I think that sometimes, like, the booking of some of these things just needs to be, like, thought about again and again and again, and like, it's like, well, maybe it's for the merchandise, I don't know, but they haven't really released the TNA title belts or whatever for people to buy them, or replicas of them. So it's like, well, that's no good. You need to be able to sell those replicas, because that's something people want to buy, and it will, generate a lot of money. So again, I don't understand, like, bringing in a new belt to say, oh, well, it's for merchandise, So I really don't understand the decision to bring in another a new title, because it's like, the old title wasn't bad. It did sort of have some stuff going on there with it for a little while, but you need to be a consistent division. You need to have a consistent division that, this thing, whatever it is, represents somebody that's on their way up to the next, like, step in some form or fashion. They're not quite there yet, but we want to give them a title and a division and a set of feuds that rotate around, that title and that division and whatnot. So you often think about centerpiece people for that division. Like, who's in this division? It really doesn't matter who else is in the division besides the champion and whoever else they're feuding with. Like, in some ways. So, yeah, and I still think that the roster's pretty thin, but again, that's due to injuries and contracts and things like that. And I do think that, like, we heard an interview, I think it was I can't remember who it was from, on what channel, with Hammerstone, and they said, he was saying, hey, why did they sort of forget about me? And I was like, well, yeah, they did kind of forget about you, but they were going to put you kind of in a tag team, kind of, that didn't really like pan out. I don't really think that was like the best move, in my opinion. I think you should have kept Hammerstone in that upper, like, main event sort of scene. You should have kept him in that area. You could have given him some stuff to do with the digital media title, or whatever, or in that division. But then just the name digital media title, like, kind of like also doesn't make 100% sense. Like, unless it is a title that is defended on the digital media or is an exclusive, like, type thing. It's like, or you really, again, build around that digital media sort of aesthetic with them doing stuff like on social media, in digital media, like on Twitch or whatever else, and this sort of thing, or on X or Facebook or Instagram or whatever else it is. So you've really got to, you know, branch out in many ways, with, like, saying, okay, well, like, and the same for this international title. It's like, well, we really, like, it's an international title, guys, and you've got, like, a bunch of Americans fighting for it and one Canadian. So it's like, yeah, super international there. But, like, if you start saying, okay, well, let's bring on some other international people, let's bring in some Mexican people, let's bring in some more Canadians, let's bring in some more Japanese people, let's bring in some other people from around the world, and that might be really difficult right now. But again, like, start saying this is a thing that is going to go, and let's send it to fucking New Japan, or let's send it to fucking whatever, Indian promotion, Polar, or whatever bloody was that they're sort of partnered with, or send it to other places. Like, again, send it around and say, okay, you can go to Germany, you can go to France, you can go whatever, and we're gonna, have you defend that title in and around the world. And you should actually do that with the world title too. You should, like, do more international dates and whatnot, not just dates in the US. And especially right now, you shouldn't do as too many dates in the US. But then again, I don't know how you're going to do dates outside of the US, since actually the ownership is Canadian, which is weird. But, like, it's seen as an American company, like, very much so. So it's like, you've got all that negativity around the whole tariffs and Trump and shenanigans and whatnot. So it's like, yeah, we don't want to be part of that, and especially with the Americans that are in the company, it's like they don't deserve that. So it's like, what do we do here? Like, again, so a lot of questions up in the air with that, in my opinion. Like, if they're going to commit to this new, title division, I think that would be good. They could make a lot of things happen in that division. They made Joe Hendry out of the digital media title division, realistically. And they sort of gave Jordan Grace something else to kind of do for a little while. Yeah, and, like, there's been a few good-ish digital media champions, but, like, I think, like, again, I don't know. Like, the end of it was so, like, poor, and I don't understand why they need a new title. They could have just vacated the title and then said, oh, well, let's, have this tournament to see who will win the title at, Under Siege, or Unbreakable, rather. So, I don't know. They could have just done that, but, yeah, whatever. I don't know. Craziness. And I think perhaps it is because, again, they wanted to get away from the PCO stink or whatever else it was with the title in some ways. Like, they were like, let's just like retire it or defunct it or whatever else it is, and let's go in a new direction. So maybe that was it. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, guys, those are the updates. I'm sure that we'll get some more coming soon. And hopefully, like I said, Joe Hendry can indeed actually compete and compete properly. But yeah, like again, I keep thinking like this surely can't be a real injury because they wouldn't let him compete if it was like a real like serious injury. So it's like, well, but then again, it might not be that serious. So I just don't know. But yeah, look, you guys always let me know what you guys think. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below. Hope you've enjoyed this one and hope you join me again in another one.